we have one of our own. We have Dr. Muehlhoff with us. That's right. Give it up for Dr. Muehlhoff. He is a communication studies professor. He's also part of our Center for Marriage and Relationships. He also preaches and teaches at churches and conferences all over the world. And he writes in his spare time, whenever that is, right? So he just wrote a book this summer with Dr. Rick Langer called Winsome, Persuasion. We're going to talk about that today. It's about how to be a Christian influence in a post-Christian world. Will you help me welcome Dr. Muehlhoff?
Thank you.
We live in a time where we live in an argument culture, an adversary culture. If I go on my Facebook feed and I put something about race or religion or politics, and everyone just blows up. It's just like argument all over from every single direction. Why is this? Like, where did this argument culture come from, and what do we do in this time?
Well, Deborah Tannen, a Georgetown linguist, is one who coined the term argument culture.
Yeah.
And she said we treat everything as like it's a verbal slugfest. And Americans are sick of it.
Yeah.
A new national study just came out a year ago that says 69% of Americans feel like incivility has reached crisis proportions. 95% of Americans feel like the president ought to set the tone when it comes to civility. And I think today, add to that social media, where I can just let things rip and not have to face the immediate consequences of that.
Right.
I think we've created a boiling point today where, as Americans, we need to talk about immigration, marriage, sexuality, and issues like that. We've lost the ability to do it, and it's dangerous. It is not going to go well for us not to be able to talk to each other.
Right. So as Christians, it seems like, we want to be about loving people and loving people well, but at the same time, it seems like there's a perception of us. And can you unpack that perception of us for us?
So all of my education was done at secular universities. I went to UNC Chapel Hill to do my master's and my PhD. My bachelor's was at Eastern Michigan University. And our reputation is horrible. When it comes to the argument culture, we are seen as being the worst. We're the perpetrators of the argument culture today. We find no common ground with anybody else. We have very narrow perspectives.
Right.
We don't understand the perspectives of other people. We dismiss their perspective without understanding it. And we pick on welfare moms. We pick on the gay community. We pick on the transgendered community. And so we are viewed as being the problem and that we do not do neighbor love. Think about that for a second. Jesus said the second greatest commandment I can give you is I want you to love your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
We are not known as good neighbors. And we have got to find a way to flip that script because I think that's what God's called us to, and this book could have been named Winsome Neighbor Love, because we're really advocating for a radical return to neighbor love.
Absolutely. So, with this perception of Christians, like, what do you propose how do we flip the script? How do we engage with the world in a way that is neighbor loving?
So Rodney Stark was a sociologist. He wrote a fascinating book called The Rise of Christianity. He's not a Christian. He asked the question, how did Christianity take root so fast? How did it explode? And he said that there were 3 plagues that hit the Roman Empire. There were mortality rates upwards of 37%. People are dying in droves.
Wow.
Rome can't even get Romans to help Romans. We have a lot of letters from emperors that are really frustrated with Romans. But the church had a heroic decision to make. Do we just care for our own during the plague, or do we go out and help people?
Yeah.
And the decision was made, by and large, that we go out and help people, Christian and non-Christian. Romans, the very people who are going to persecute us, we go out and help them. And Christians died in droves doing this. But the reputation was, my goodness, you can count on Christians when times are tough. You can count on Christians to be there, even if we disagree with each other about some political stance, religious stance, moral stance. Just know that we're here to help you, and we will help you even as you try to shut us down or you try to hurt us. We're going to help you. And I think we've gotten away from that today.
It seems like, as Christians, I want to help people, but I don't know what to do, or if I do it, I feel like maybe I'm using the wrong tone or the wrong language, and I'm just missing the point here. Like, how do I connect better with the audience at hand?
Well, let me give you an illustration that I came across. So I love to do martial arts, and I love watching the UFC. the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and there's this one guy known as, he calls himself the Black Beast. He's like 6'6", he's a massive UFC fighter. He's a Houston native.
Okay.
So when the hurricanes hit Houston, massive flooding, he was in a boat grabbing people, just getting them in it. He estimated he helped 100 people.
Wow.
He turns the corner, and there is a man draped in the Confederate flag holding the hand of his daughter, and they're stuck. They need help.
Right.
So he pulls up in the boat, and this guy even says to him, he says, listen, I'm really sorry about the flag, but it really means a lot to me. And the guy says to him, hey, get in the boat. It's a hurricane. This is what neighbors do. Get in the boat.
Yeah.
So, Mike, I think we look around today and we ask the question, what are the problems facing our community today?
Yeah.
This book isn't about fixing the national dialogue. That is so far beyond my pay grade. I have no idea how to fix the national dialogue. But I think I have ideas of how to do it in La Mirada. I think I have ideas how to do it in Brea. So we look around and we see the needs. And when the needs present themselves, we respond with our money, our time, our compassion. I think we can be good neighbors. And we tried to fill the book with illustrations and examples of what good neighbor love looks like and the benefits that come from neighbor love.
Great, great. One thing you say in this book is that there's 3 tones that we can take. Yeah. There's this prophetic tone that Christians speak in, there's a pastoral tone, and then there's a persuasive tone.
Yes.
And you advocate for the persuasive tone. Can you unpack these 3 tones for us?
Yeah, we're not anti-prophetic. Prophetic, we describe it this way. Prophetic is, I just tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And I add to it, thus saith the Lord. Okay, that's prophetic. And for us at Biola University, that's enough. The prophetic is enough, right? You show it to me via scripture, I'm okay with it.
Right.
But in the outside world today, it seems like we've been a one-trick pony at the church, right? We just shout the prophetic.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a person who travels overseas and you don't really know the language, and you say to somebody, hey, where's the bathroom? And they don't understand you. So what you do is you say, where's the bathroom? And I think we've been locked into the prophetic. And we've recently seen, in my estimation, some very bold examples of the prophetic. And we're not against it, but if that's all we're known for, I think we need to be known for the pastoral is the second, and then persuasive is the third. The pastoral is this. You don't run up to a traffic accident where people are hurt, pop your head in the window and say, see, you should have been wearing your seatbelts.
Yeah.
Right? No, the pastoral is, hey, I even told you this was going to hurt.
Right.
I even warned you to put your seatbelts on.
Right.
But now that it's happened, the pastoral is, but this must really hurt. And your community's in pain. Let's set aside our debate for a second. You need help. This is what Paul says, right? Paul says, when those who hate you are hungry, I want you to feed them. When they're thirsty, I want you to give them something to drink. These are the very people who hate you.
Right.
Do not take advantage of the fact that they're suffering.
Right.
I want you to minister to these individuals. I think that's incredibly powerful. And then the persuasive is, once I've earned the right to be heard, now we can say some things to each other. And my most fruitful times of ministry is when it's been really clear that I'm part of the community. I would say it was high school wrestling team. There was no doubt I was on the team, running those stairs just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So you earn a right to be heard. In my PhD program, right, we're all slugging it out as grad students. We're all crazy with stress. You earn the right to be heard. Our kids played Pop Warner football.
Right.
Man, you hang out with these parents 24/7. And let me give you one example.
Yeah.
That maybe you'll need to delete from the podcast. I don't know. Let's see how tenure works.
Let's
okay.
do this.
So, we're playing Pop Warner football. Our kids, we're with these people all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I'm standing there next to a gentleman who is tatted up from head to toe. I'm standing there looking like a Gap representative, right? It's like, but we're watching our kids play football, and my son makes a really good tackle.
Yeah.
And he leans over to me, and he goes, hey, blankety blank, good tackle. I'm like, thanks, man. What brought us together was football.
Yeah.
We wouldn't hang out with each other, right? But football brought us together. Here's what the book is about. The community is what brings us together. But we have to ask a really important question. Am I a visitor in my own community?
Yeah.
Am I a part of the community? is Biola part of La Mirada? Such that if we were to close our doors, the community would desperately miss us. And Mike, that is a fundamental question we need to ask now, because I think the script can be flipped, but it's going to be flipped when we show up in really dramatic ways. And we say, as I look at my community, who's hurting? Okay, transgendered community, 40% suicide rates within the transgendered community. We say that is unacceptable. We show up. We say, listen, what do you need? What can we do to help? And by the way, let me analyze my own rhetoric, my own speech. Am I causing you to feel that way? Am I causing bullying to happen towards the gay community, the transgender community? Then I need to go back and say, something's wrong with my communication because I'm not speaking the truth in love. And so we show up. And I can share more examples from the book of these really powerful moments that the church really did show up and be the church. And it was beautiful to watch, and that opens the door to the gospel. See, this book is called Winsome Persuasion. Rick and I absolutely believe we need to share the gospel with people, right? This isn't just neighbor love, but we also want to share the gospel. And so these walls can come down, I think, when we show people we honestly are concerned for you, we love you, and we're even going to put your needs above our needs. And I think when we start to do that over time, right? I like churches that have been rooted for a long time. Biola's been here a long time. Then you start to earn the right to be heard.
All right, so we're going to answer a few questions to him from our live student audience, and here we go. Okay, what do you think in particular is most lacking in our love that makes it bad neighbor love?
I don't think we're aware of what's happening in our community. I think we get insulated very quickly, partly because my church is big enough. We used to belong to a church of 5,000 people. We can do everything we need right in my church. We have our own sports teams, basketball. We can handle any need within our church. So I don't need to know what's happening outside of my church. And I think that ignorance of what's happening to my neighbor causes us to be bad neighbors. Now, you're welcome to come into my community, right? If you come to visit, you're welcome. But we need to be out in the community with our pulse on what's happening that people are struggling with outside the walls of our churches.
Absolutely. Thank you. Here's another question. How do we help those we disagree with without making it look like we agree with what they're doing? Great question.
Okay, so, gosh, what to get into. So I teach rhetoric classes. So the question becomes, what's condoning? See, this is what stops us in our tracks right away. I don't want to be condoning sin, so I don't do anything. I think we're going to have to answer this. We're going to have to give charity to other people because people are going to disagree with this. So in my rhetoric class, we do the classic example, you're a Christian baker. Do you bake a wedding cake for a lesbian wedding? Okay? We're going to have to give charity and answers because people are going to disagree very strongly on what the answer to that question is. I think neighbor love trumps my worries about condoning sin. And what we do is we analyze Jesus' table fellowships. And we go to one of the top scholars who's looked at Jesus' practice of table fellowship. And Mike, it blows your mind who Jesus had table fellowship with. I mean, to such an extent, and most of these were outside, they were public. So people are walking past and there's Jesus sitting with certain people and they stop dead in their tracks saying, you can't do that. You can't sit at the table. So I always say to my students, you tell me who's at the table that stops you dead in your tracks. That even you say, Jesus, you can't be with the leader of the skinhead movement that was just in Charleston. You can't do that. And you know what Jesus' response was? I don't care. I don't care what you think.
His response was, I'm going to be there with them.
I'm here with them. And I'm having... And by the way, it wasn't just having a meal. That denigrates... That'd be bad enough, right? Just having a meal. But table fellowship has much more connotation than just having a meal. This was Jesus allowing this person access to him. And Jesus saying, no, I'm sitting with you. Because I care about you. I love you. Now, do I think Jesus needs to condemn the hatred? Absolutely.
Of course.
But to do it in such a way that he's still loving the person even as he condemns hatred.
Right.
And again, so somebody once asked me in a radio interview, are there any times we should be prophetic? And I said, yeah, I think the hatred we saw in Charleston needs to be condemned in the strongest possible terms. If you are somehow thinking you're using the Bible to support that hate monger rhetoric, then you're using the Bible wrong, because the Bible doesn't support that.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, Jesus would have hung out, he would have had fellowship with skinheads as he's arguing against their ideology. Today, we've lost the fellowship part. We argue with each other, we have these debates, but there's no seeing each other at soccer games.
Right.
There's no civic government where we get together and we help the homeless. We now are siloed as we have these really powerful conversations. I'm saying I think we need to break the silo.
Yeah.
And you do life with people, you earn the right to say some hard things.
Absolutely. Great. Here is a tweet from M. How do we help other Christians recognize when they are using rhetoric that is harmful toward our neighbors?
So here's the problem with being part of a university. Here's the problem with being part of a church. There's no monolithic voice.
Yeah.
There is no one voice that represents Biola University. And faculty disagree on how we should do it.
Right.
And we're not on the same page. There are some people who, quite frankly, would read this book and have deep reservations about my book and Rick's book. When they have that kind of reservation, I tell them Rick wrote most of it. Yeah, Rick wrote it. I did the artwork, right? I mean, no, but so there are people who would look at us and say, you're giving away too much of the ranch.
Yeah.
I have deep problems with section 3 of your book. Section 3 is a controversial section of the book where we talk about, okay, in light of the Supreme Court decision about same-sex marriage, what should the church do now?
Yeah.
And Rick and I kind of disagree with each other. But so at Biola University, we're all going to have to believe our hearts are in the right place.
Right.
We all really care about the Great Commission. We all care about neighbor love. This group of faculty thinks we ought to speak the truth. That ought to be at the forefront. Some of us are saying, no, I think love needs to be at the forefront. So we can't turn on each other. We have to believe the best about each other. But I don't doubt that this book has frustrated some people who say, I just don't understand what he's thinking.
Right.
So we have to make sure we're on the same page, giving charity to each other. But the problem with the church is you get different messages coming out from different pockets of a church.
Right.
And I think we're just going to have to live with the tension of that. I don't know how else to address that.
Yeah, it's kind of like what Dr. Corey says, firm center, soft edges.
Yeah.
And you're saying, hey, we need to be softer edged. And some people here might be like, we need to have firmer centers.
Yeah, you're right. There are some people who think I'm the soft edge. And that there's a firm center that I think at times can do damage to our neighbor love. And so we both care about it. We're just, how do you prioritize it?
Yep.
That's what the disagreement is about.
Absolutely.
So we can't turn on each other. We have to support each other, even though privately I'm pretty frustrated that some things have happened that make my work harder.
Absolutely.
That's frustrating. I don't know how to resolve that, other than if I ran the university. Yes. Yes.
We'd be loving to each other more.
Oh, come on. Yes.
All right. Well, Tim, here's another question for us, okay? How can I encourage someone from an older generation to change their rhetoric, specifically concerning gender issues?
You can't. Next. We can get through a lot of these. I think we can do a ton of questions. No, this is really hard. There is such a generational divide today. And it's really hard.
Yeah.
And we are going to have to find ways of bridging that. So the older generation feels like the millennials, the younger generation, you've sold the ranch. All you guys care about is social justice. All you care about is neighbor love. And you don't care about sharing the gospel. So you dig clean water wells, but you never tell a person how they can know Christ as Savior. What I think needs to happen in that situation is, I think the younger generation needs to say, is that a fair critique? The older generation gets locked in their ways, feels like digging clean water wells is the social gospel, which nothing could be worse. Because we saw the horrors of the social gospel, right? All we did was give out blankets. We never shared the gospel. We've seen that movie before. It happened in the 70s, 80s. So I think what we need to do, again, you're not going to set a person straight in the older generation if you don't have a relationship with him or her.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So to get to know each other, to listen to each other, to value each other's perspectives, But nobody wants time to do that.
Right.
Everybody wants to say, I just want to set you straight without any relational investment whatsoever.
Right.
And I think that's not going to work.
No.
And so we don't have time for these relationships, but I want to say the most hurtful things to you, and I want to challenge your deepest convictions. I just don't want to have any relationship or time invested into it.
Right.
And that's social media.
Right.
The bad part, we love social media. We argue for it in the book. But man, when I sit down with a person and I just don't care, I'm just going to set you straight in 5 tweets, 1 long email with bold and italics, that is not going to work. The communication climate, if it can't support it, it's going to make it worse. Yeah. Communication can make things worse, not better, unless the communication climate is strong enough to handle it.
Yeah, great. Well, here's another question. Unfortunately, I observe a pattern of communities coming alive only after a citywide disaster. How do we love others proactively rather than reactively?
That is a great question. So I think we as a church in Brea, let's say, where I'm from, we go out and ask people how they're doing.
Yeah.
As much as possible. We find other groups, other churches, community leaders, civic concerns, and we say, hey, how are you guys doing? What can we do to help?
Yeah.
Now, that's going to be a lot of suspicion. They're going to say, what? You know what we believe in. Why would you want to help us? Because we're good neighbors.
Yeah.
So I don't doubt we'll be met with suspicion. But let me tackle that question from a different aspect. So when things happen in a community is when the community does come together in really unexpected ways. So wildfires hit Brea really hard. Our school, Biola High School, was hit by these wildfires. All the shrubbery, all the landscaping was gone. Well, we're kind of broke. Our school system in California is broke. There was no money to refurbish this shrubbery. So 4 churches went to the Biola school system and said, we will replace all your shrubbery, all the landscaping needs, totally free of charge. We'll do it on 4 consecutive Sundays. The Sunday that our church showed up, the school board was there helping plant shrubbery.
Wow.
Now, unfortunately, it does take a disaster to bring us together, but once it brings us together, let's nurture that togetherness.
Yeah, that's good.
Let's keep the momentum going.
Yeah, that's good.
And so let's imagine a year after that, there's something the school board's doing, there's something the school is doing that we really have concerns about. So we show up, and the first thing they're going to say is, oh, hey, thanks again for the landscaping, man. Every time I drive past Biola, I think of you guys. Now, what's on your mind?
Right.
Here's what we do. We never go to the school board. We have nothing to do with Biola School except when we're ticked. Then we show up. We're like, hey, the way you do this is wrong, and I won't stand for it, and blah, blah. And the school board's like, I'm sorry, who are you? Oh, I'm part of this school. Oh, it's fine. I've never seen you at anything.
Yeah.
But, okay, what do you got? And we expect that to be successful. And again, that's what I'm saying. The early church, they earned the right to be heard in Antioch.
Yeah.
Massive overcrowding problems, sanitation problems, road problems. We know the church at Antioch, where they first were called Christians, we argue in the book, I don't think that was a derogatory term. I think it was begrudging respect. You are little Christ in a positive way. And they helped. They jumped in and helped with the roads because they were living in Antioch. We need to live with people, and then we respond not to Brea's needs, but our needs, because clearly I'm part of Brea.
Yeah.
You know I'm part of, you cut me, I bleed Brea. When people know that, they're going to listen to you.
Yeah.
You're like the weird uncle in the family. You're a little weird with your ideas, but you're part of my family. I'm going to listen to what you have to say.
Thanks, weird uncle.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, it's important.
Well, here's another question. Okay. If you genuinely don't have time to invest into your neighbors' lives, and you are a broke college student, that's right, what would you say is a way we can participate in our community in Winsome Persuasion?
So I'm tempted to give you a little bit of a pass because you're in college. And again, we remember what it was like. It was craziness. It was insanity. But by the way, life gets busier when you graduate. It does. Trust me on this. My goodness, trust me on this.
Oh, yeah.
It gets so much more busy. So if you're not doing evangelism now, I don't think you'll do it when you graduate. If you're not doing neighbor love now, I don't think there's a magic switch you flip that suddenly you do it.
Yeah.
So I would do neighbor love within your residence hall. I would do neighbor love within your apartment complex. I would do neighbor love wherever you're at. I would find ways just to minister to people. So there was a woman, so I was at Eastern Michigan University, we had snowfall. And here's a woman who is, she has MS and she has these two, I don't even know what you call them. They're like
walker things.
Yeah. And she's trying to get over a snowbank. And I'm in my dorm room just looking outside and she can't not get over this snowbank. And I am shocked how many people are just walking past her. So I don't know her. I just get out, run outside. I'm trying to carry this woman over. We're both falling in the snow. We're both laughing. But we can find little things to do.
Yeah.
And we can find these moments. And again, I would seek to, and by the way, Biola facilitates a lot of these. We have a great homeless ministry. So there are ways that even inherently within our university that we can find these neighbor love ways to do things.
Yeah.
And I think we can seek to find them. And I get that you're busy, but don't use that busyness as an excuse because you're about to hit massive busyness. When you get a job and you're busy from 8 to 6 and every day, including Saturdays, and then you get married, let's say, and you have kids, good night. There'll always be a busyness reason I can't do it.
Absolutely.
So we're going to need to find ways of creating these pockets of neighborly love in any context.
All right. Well, Tim, there's a final question we ask all of our guests, and that is, what are some of the biblical principles that helped underpin some of your thoughts today?
Yeah, I would say it really is the Apostle Paul when he says, those who hate you, that could be easily labeled an enemy, when they are down and out and hungry, what do we do?
Yeah.
The black beast really could have just seen that Confederate flag, and I don't think anybody of us would have blamed him.
Yeah.
To say, hey, there's no way that flag's coming on my ship, my boat.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
Yeah.
He looked at him and said, listen, you better believe two things are true. One, I hate that flag. Two, I could kill you in 5 different ways.
Right.
And I'm going to do neither. Because you're cold, you're shivering, your daughter's shivering right now.
Right.
Get in the boat.
Yeah.
And take the flag with you.
Yeah.
This isn't the time. This isn't the time to have that debate. That debate's coming. I haven't forgotten the debate. But now's the time. Get in the boat. You're shivering.
Yeah.
And I think we can say that to the I think we can say that to transgender community. I think we can say that to the gay community. I think we can say it to the very people who want to shut the doors of Biola University. When they hit hard times, you know what we do? We say, listen, I know you want to shut us down, but you're shivering.
Yeah.
You're cold. You're hungry. We're here.
Yeah.
We're still going to shut you down. Okay, but not. But today we're open.
Right.
Today we're open, and today we're going to help you. I think.
Biola University prepares Christians to think biblically about everything, from science to business to education and the arts. Learn more at biola.edu.